everyone. Hi, thank you so much for being on a Scenic Route podcast.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait to get into things.
Yay! Yeah, I love like what we're gonna do today. We're actually, if you're listening to this, you're gonna graduate from the School of Emotions after you've listened to Lauren and I talking about emotions for for the next couple of minutes. Like tell us like the School of Emotions. Like when I realize, I know that from myself, right? Like sometimes I feel something and
Mhm.
I'm like, or it took me a while to really be like, hey, like I don't really
Yeah.
remember how that feels like. Like what is for you kind of like the start of kind of getting in touch with your emotions again?
Yeah, I love this question because it was really great. And I do want to mention like the conversation we even had before our podcast together was like we could have recorded this because, we were really talking about like this scenic route that I took and the parallels to what you took. And
Mm,
it all like for both of us, and I'm sure for many folks who are listening as well, like it started with yes, I had a business goal in mind of like, I need to figure out some sort of new job or work or business. But it was like my journey of finding myself again. And that started with
mm,
like moving out of autopilot and out of this state of like, I don't even have time or energy or anything to like acknowledge my emotions to then
mm.
like, okay, I need to start discovering my emotions. And like when I discovered the emotions wheel, I'm like, maybe was I showed this in kindergarten? Like, I'm not sure. And like, why didn't I have this tool with me for my whole life? Like, this could have made my life so much easier just to like know that there's more than like 5 or 6 emotions and there's like actually thousands. So
Mm.
it's like,
Yeah.
getting in touch, not only like pausing. I think pausing is just a
Yes.
huge part of
Slowing
that.
down.
Like be
Just slow down.
slowing down.
Mm.
Yeah, to really like figure out, okay, what is going on in my body? What's going on in my head? How do I feel? Why is like,
I have to cut in. I love that you
yeah,
say what's going on in my body and what's going on in my
yeah,
head because like for me, usually that's not the same thing. Like I call my
no,
head like
totally.
my head that voice in my head that sometimes goes like me me
Hmm.
me me me. That's Nicole.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when I have a thought coming up, I'm like, okay, Nicole, thank you for letting yourself known. But it's cool now. You can go back on the back. You can like sit, relax on the back seat. I got this.
Yeah,
It's
totally,
not the same thing.
totally.
Like, right, we can like what you feel in what your head is telling you feel, and when you actually check into your body what you're feeling, like the somatic
Yeah,
experience of what you feel does not have to be
yeah.
the same thing.
Totally. And like for me,
Mm.
there was so much manifesting in my body, even until like recently, like for like 3 years, there was like even just having like an appendix surgery and
Yeah.
like I'm like,
Oh
oh
my
my
god.
gosh,
Yeah.
this is to me, I feel like was a manifestation of like, not being in the right environment, not
Mm.
being in like a good place mentally, all those things. But like through the last few years, it was like, oh, I have just these pains in my body. I migraines, like
Yeah.
I've had them here and there, but more than ever before. And it was
Yeah.
like you can crux a lot of I'm not a medical doctor, I'm gonna mention that. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
could
I mean
crux
that's
it
yes,
down
that's
to
important.
these
And
medical
like,
things.
yeah,
But it was
disclaimer,
like,
please. If you feel sick, go
yeah,
see a doctor. But at the same
yes.
time,
Yeah.
yes.
So for me, I did all that. Like I went to, aside from my
Same.
appendix, I did all the blood work, all these things. And it was like, it was, they couldn't find anything. It was all like emotional. And for me, it was
Mm.
a lot of hard work, but
Yeah.
work that was so worth it to me to get in touch with my emotions, acknowledge my emotions, move through those emotions, sometimes not move through those emotions in the times I didn't feel ready to, and where I
Mm.
needed to focus on something else. So I
What
think
were the
like that's
emotions you
part of
didn't feel ready to take on
I
immediately?
I
Do you want to
think
tell me?
yeah, I think think it comes down to, for me, it was a very long process of not necessarily like, I mean, it took me a long time to build my confidence back over the
Mm,
last few years.
mm.
Um,
Like
but
confidence
I,
in like external confidence in visibility and showing up, or in like self-trust and self-awareness, like
both,
that
but
what you okay.
yeah,
Mm,
but I would say the self-trust
mm,
came a lot sooner, but it
mm,
was still that piece of like external like biases or
mm-hmm,
external
mm-hmm.
things that were still like I wasn't ready to totally like put that boundary up. So
Yeah,
even though
yeah,
I
it
had
was,
that
you still
self-trust
realize it's
again,
influencing you because it does, right?
yeah.
Everything you like, you, I don't know, sometimes when you don't put up, that's very woo-wooey, but if you don't put up like energetic boundaries, you're kind of like a
Hmm.
sponge, and you take everything up. Like, I mean, I see
Yeah.
that. I mean, that it's one of still my big things when people
Hmm.
that are close to, when they're like, I don't know, getting nervousness is really bad. If people are around, and
Hmm.
most people are like that, right? If you're
Yeah.
in a nervous or hectic environment, you
Yeah.
realize, if you check in with yourself, you start that you're like getting nervous yourself.
Hmm.
And then it's really
Yeah.
important to differentiate, hey, wait a minute, is that actually my emotion? Or is it something that's like from externally has been kind of like is seeping through me?
Right.
Mm,
Exactly. Exactly. So that
mm,
was like a process of like, and I want to share this with like so much heart in that, if you're on this journey to like get in touch with your emotions, just rediscover who you are, like not everything is going to happen at once. Like it could for you, but I know for me it didn't. I know for other people in my world it hasn't. It hasn't
yeah,
looked like all the healing comes at once. That's why it's a journey.
yeah,
And so if you've started off just even like being able to name your emotions, or just like
yes,
I'd say like download an emotions wheel and like print it out and just like use that to check in with yourself. There's so many you can just look up, like anyone is great to start with,
yeah,
and just starting there is such a good
yeah,
place.
yeah. And I love that because it sounds so simple, but like, who's actually doing it, right? Like, I would love if there actually would be a school of emotions, or at least like a subject in school that's called
Yeah.
emotions and feelings and how to deal with it,
Maybe.
right?
Yeah.
Because as you've said with the appendix, like your body, I mean, medical science knows by now that, and trauma research knows that your body keeps the score. It's actually also a brilliant book. I forgot
Yes.
who wrote it, but it's a brilliant
Yes.
book. The body keeps the score.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it can, years and years, also like years and years of dissonance of, if you're living in
Hmm.
dissonance with whatever, it can cause quite real medical challenges and
Yeah.
issues. So I love that you said, okay, first, like, it's really about becoming, yeah, like getting, like, graduating from the school of emotions, and really quite
Self-aware.
simply,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, self-aware, and like gain knowledge about emotions, right? Like, what is the full
Hmm.
deal of emotions? What is the full range? And like,
Right.
what do emotions do? I mean, if you're super like a biochemistry nerd and actually like look into what emotions do it to do in your body. And I feel,
Hmm.
I love that you said like start with like checking in and being aware of your emotions, because like it starts with clarity, right? Like any kind
Yeah.
of journey, whatever that's like a journey to self-discovery, or actually if you're out there lost in the woods, any
Yeah.
journey starts with actually figuring out where the fuck you are,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean,
Totally.
if you don't know like which direction to walk to, like, start figuring out where the North Star is, or whatever, where the sun goes up and down, so
Yeah.
you have some kind of
Yeah.
idea. And the same goes for self-development, business. Start where you are, like maybe where you
Hmm.
want to go, and see how you can bridge it.
Yeah.
I think that's really, it sounds so simple, but it's always, I don't know, I feel like with my clients it's something, sometimes they skip over that because
Right.
usually when you see a coach or you work with someone external, you do that because something is not quite the way you want it. So
Right.
looking at what is the current state is
Mm-hmm.
usually involved with some level of pain,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's, I remember there were
And
loads of
fear
times,
and
yeah, there were
yeah.
loads of times where it was like a shitty feeling to actually acknowledge where I am at. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, ugh, this
Yeah.
is uncomfortable. I wanna like, I don't know if you do with if you have anything to do with enneagrams, but I'm a 7, so I'm
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
no, no, uncomfortable, no, no, just no, not having this. And I was like, no, I gotta learn to sit with also like the unpleasant, icky thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, we just named right now, um, like shared out fearful and then
Yeah,
what kind of fear, right? Like I'm looking at
yeah,
my emotions wheel now. Is it scared, anxious,
mm,
insecure, weak, rejected,
yeah,
and
oh,
or
yeah,
threatened? Because those are similar emotions, but they're all very different and they make us feel
yes,
differently. They
mm,
manifest differently in our bodies. And like if you can check in, some people are so logical, right? And they're gonna
mm,
like notice how they feel with certain emotions, perhaps in their
mm,
head. And for other people, it might start in their body. It
yeah,
might have a different feeling in their body depending on their emotion as well. So,
mm,
everyone is going to be so different, just like
yes.
anyone's
Yeah,
journey
so it's
is going to look
actually being
different.
like, yeah. And I feel we can all like differentiate between like, oh, I feel good or I feel bad. I feel hate or I feel
Right.
love, right? Like, but the
Yeah.
nuances, that's where it's kind of like get interesting. And I love that you've said
Mm-hmm.
maybe checking in and realizing, hey, because sometimes the head is clouding over, right? And
Yeah.
maybe if you know from your experience, hey, something like regret is
Mm,
stored in a slightly different place. I'm just saying something
yes.
in like my mid lower belly, and like
Right.
another close emotion is stored more central. Like it could help you being sure of what your body is actually trying to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I
Absolutely.
love that.
Yeah. There's so
So
much.
yeah, it's actually, yeah, I mean, and like what you said, like it's really the start of the journey to kind of like reconnect with it. So we said,
Yeah.
okay, if you want to get started on this journey, you'll really be like, okay, slowing down. And even if you think you've slow down more.
Right. Totally. Like I want to share. I thought I was like a few weeks ago, I was like, or a few months now, like my
Mm,
nervous system feels the most regulated it has in years, probably
yes.
like before my burnout even,
Yeah.
which happened like 3 years ago now, or
Yeah.
2 years ago now. I don't know, 2.5 years.
Yeah. Time.
And I was feeling like so good. Like I'd finally gotten to a place where I think I was like, instead of being at negative, I was kind of like at zero, which is so empowering in itself
That's
when
beautiful.
you've,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
It's
And then it
it's a
was,
different experience. Yes,
oh,
it's beautiful.
totally. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like really cool. And then, I got COVID and then I got a cold and all these things just knocked me on my
Mm,
butt. I had to just lie around for like a month. I did things, but I was like, okay, no, I actually
mm-hmm.
need to do less because I could push through and do more things. But like, I
Yes.
actually really value my
Yes.
body, my health. I am worth
Yes.
resting. Like, my life is worth resting this month of my life, whatever. So it
Yes.
was like, okay, I was gearing up. I had so much momentum going on in my business for like the first time ever, probably the amount of momentum I had and
Yeah.
just connections and all these things. And then it was like, pause. It was like, oh, okay, I
Mm.
need to just listen to my body because if
Yes.
I don't, then I'm this like my energy is not sustainable right now and it's not going to be
Mm.
by
Yes.
doing things. And so it was like, okay, and that's the ebbs and flows and like to listen to that just is
Mm-hmm.
so powerful. And like I just want to say to everyone, like, you are worthy of rest because that's something it
Mm.
took me a long time to realize that because for
Oh.
me it came down
Mm.
to self-worth, I think, of doing
not taking
doing
enough
or
rest or
yeah, and just
oh,
also being conditioned by the people around me who
of
had
course.
more
Yes.
energy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it was like I now have, and it took a long time to say like, no, I have these boundaries with myself too, that like if my body's telling me to rest, or even before my body tells me to rest, I need to rest. So
Yeah, that's the
if
thing, right? Like if that's the
yeah,
same, if I'd say I once read that like from a nutritionist, like he said, the moment you feel thirsty, you should have had water ages ago.
yes, I'm
Because
gonna have a
that
sip of water right
yeah,
now.
because that first feeling is coming rather late to really be like, oh
Right.
shit, right? Like, and it's the same. Like
Yeah.
you probably should, yeah, you should have already done it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
there's like those things in that self-care, like being able to pause more for that is like going to, if you're someone who has energy that really ebbs and flows like me, that will help you like build these habits of like nurturing yourself and taking care of yourself and
Yeah.
being preventative. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not always
Yeah.
preventative, like I said, it's
Well, you can
it's
create
hard,
certain
but you can.
environments. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Or being aware that if you have to move in an environment for a while that's not supporting that, to be aware of that and maybe put on some extra protection. Like
Exactly.
or after, like
Like,
in between or after extra rest
right.
periods or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And for me, that's like my mindset practice and like,
Oh,
having that connection to my subconscious mind and really doing the mindset work that feels good for me, because there are so many there's so many mindset practices that you can do. And like,
yeah.
it's, if someone tells you they meditate every single day for 20 minutes and like you've tried it and it's not you, like that's totally cool. Like try something else, because there's
Yes.
something for everyone. You can
Yes,
create your own
absolutely.
practice.
I
And
agree.
yeah, so like
If you
even
don't get anything out of journaling, leave
yeah,
voice memos to yourself or whatever.
right.
Like,
Totally. Like there's so many different ways. Or
what
if you
works for
need
you?
someone, yeah, I think for me, a big thing I've realized over the last few years is that I have some practices I do on my own, but I want to start with like the space that other people hold for me. I think that has
Oh.
become really important. Like I work with my hypnotherapist once or twice a month, and I even attend like a lot of group online workshops. Like that's something that
Oh,
really
yeah.
connects
Like fills
me
up
and
your cup as well, I
fills up
suppose.
my cup. Absolutely.
I
Because
love
I
that.
love learning new things. So that's also like a way for me to come with no expectation, get out of my head and like turn off my critical mind and just like
Yes.
let things flow.
I like that.
And I do like an affirmations practice, and I do that before bed by handwriting those affirmations. And I don't do that all the time, but I listen to my custom hypnosis audio. I love this. I started doing it this year, is I write down like little milestones or like little and big things that I'm really proud of. So like
Yes.
if I, had someone download a hypnosis audio of mine, or if I, connect with a really cool person or have a new collaboration or sign another client or whatever it is,
You're on
I
the
write
CD
them.
podcast.
Yeah, that's going to be written down for real. So I write all those things down on these little pieces of paper, and I throw them in this beautiful ceramic this like jar that I wanted for years. And then I eventually like was able to buy one and afford one. So it goes in this very special vessel, and I put the dates and everything. And then if I'm like not feeling so hot one day, I'll go in there, I'll pick something out and I'll read it.
Ooh.
And it's just like, it just brings back that feeling for me of how I felt
like
when
wishing vessel 2.0 or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I attend also on New Year's Eve to read them all, move them to a new vessel, and then start again. But so that's a new practice for me that, I wish I did my whole life, but I haven't, but I just love it. I think
Yeah,
it
that's the
it
thing,
makes
right? Like,
me
I mean, the
feel
best
really
day to
good.
start something like that would have been yesterday, and the next best moment is
Exactly.
now. So,
You can start today. You can even go
yeah,
back in your week or your calendar. Sometimes I do
yeah,
that and I'm like, what
absolutely.
happened this week, right? Because there's
Yeah,
something you can find to celebrate
yes,
no matter what your week looks like, right?
yes,
So, even if it's just, getting outside for that walk, like that
yeah.
you've been saying you wanted to for days or weeks or whatever, right?
Yeah,
So,
and like, and not like, even like, and make it, sometimes you just have to make it smaller. Like, sometimes you
yes.
don't have to hike for 8 hours.
No.
Maybe just like literally 5 minutes in the park will do
Yeah,
the trick, right?
totally.
Just to sort of like, ooh, whoa, right? Like,
Yeah.
I love how you said like that. Yeah, that the work is oftentimes when we deal with emotions or on trauma and go through the school
Mm-hmm.
of emotions, it's not conscious work,
Mm-hmm.
it's subconscious work. Like,
Oh yeah.
to
Oh yeah.
really be like, as it's, there's not something you cannot really dissecting. It's, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
your emotions and are in your limbic brain. It's not accessible through logic. It there are different rules, different rule book. It's just like, nope. So I love,
Right.
like, as a hypnotherapist, like, I love, yeah, like how, like, like, work me through some of the, like, subconscious
Mm-hmm.
practices or tools, like, you work
Yeah.
with during hypnotherapy, because I feel that's such a good way to get into the unconscious mind and just give me some idea how
Yeah.
that looks like. I've never done it, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yeah. So like something to share as well is like the negativity bias, which is
Oh, tell
that
me about it.
yeah, so like for every single negative emotion, we need at
Mm.
least three times as many positive emotions to like overcome that
One to
negative
three, that's
emotion.
crazy. That's
Right.
crazy. Yeah.
So, if you go through this process of, identifying your emotion and then um, coming up with like three emotions that you would like to feel instead of that negative emotion, like it can be a long process. And not to say
Mm.
that that approach doesn't work, but it can take a lot of time. And so for
Mm-hmm.
me, like finding hypnosis was this like amazing tool that just seemed to work so much quicker for me. And now that
Mm.
I'm certified and working with clients as well on the other end, I see, such beautiful growth, but it's really that ability because when we're identifying these negative emotions and the positive emotions we want to experience
Mm.
instead, that's coming from our critical mind, which is
Mm.
actually always at the mostly always at the forefront, but it's
Mm.
such a small part of our brain
Yeah.
actually. Like what's below the conscious mind and the critical mind is our
Mm.
unconscious mind, our
Very loud
subconscious
voices.
mind.
Very loud voices.
Yeah. So if we can get past those loud voices
Mm.
like that live in our critical mind and um connect to that subconscious mind, that's where we can really make a lot of like bring more clarity, I guess, identify more
Mm-hmm.
of our emotions, like what's instinctively
Mm-hmm.
happening and what lives in our subconscious mind without our loud voices clouding that part of our brains and our minds. And
Mm.
also just being able to surpass that. And like through hypnosis, it's really just like a very deep state of relaxation where we can
Mm.
turn off that critical mind, connect to our subconscious mind, and really discover what's there, like whether there's blocks that are existing, maybe
Mm.
there's stories that are an expansion of that negative emotion that are
Yeah.
like,
Mm.
the first time you ever experience that emotion and why it's so strong and why it's something that, you feel quite often or that's
Mm.
triggering for you. And we can really like often discover what those stories were and rewrite them and
Yeah.
understand them and again replace them with the positive emotion that you want. But in hypnosis it's really programmed into our subconscious mind, which
Mm.
is a driver for a lot of the things
Yes.
we do.
Yeah.
So then that in turn brings our critical minds to this place where it's really
Mm.
supported
Yeah.
by
I
this
like that.
subconscious mind in the ways you want, because
Yeah.
there's so many ways our subconscious mind support us, and not always in the ways that we really want and that really align with, our hearts and where we want to go and how we want to feel about ourselves. And
Yeah, it's surely to sort of give a little
yeah,
direction in a gentle way,
yeah,
like nudge, nudge, nudge,
exactly.
nudge. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that. And especially what you've said about like the stories, right? Like
right.
rem like how emotions are kind of like, I don't know,
Yeah.
a sideboard with a lot of drawers, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if something
Oh yes.
happens,
That's a great analogy. I love that.
okay, good. I was like, does it make sense? Do I sound like I'm selling IKEA
Yes.
furniture? No. Okay. So like, so I way I kind of like learn to understand it is emotions is kind of like that sideboard with a lot of different drawers, and they're like labeled anger, resentment, fear, and so on.
Right.
And the interesting thing is, right, it's kind of like a Pandora's box. If one event triggers you to open a certain drawer, maybe
Mm-hmm.
the resentment drawer or something, and or the not
Mm.
feeling, let's take not feeling good enough. That's a nice one because everyone's like,
Yeah.
yeah, cut that
I
drawer, it's a
have
big one.
Oh yeah. And I can share my story with that too, because that was my big one that I
Ooh,
had to connect back to. And
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So you're actually kind of like first have to realize, okay, which drawer is actually pulled open. Okay, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not feeling good enough. And the interesting thing, what reminded me when he said stories is, as soon as this like drawers getting pulled open, all the
Yeah.
stories, old shit stories that happened 20 years ago are like
Yeah.
are coming doop, 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 are bubbling up, and
Yeah.
suddenly like something right now happened, you feel not worthy enough, and then you suddenly remembered that incident back in high school when you felt like not worthy enough, or like
Mm-hmm.
that time as a kid, or that time when you were 21, right? Like it was like, and
Yeah.
you're like, wait, what? No, like go back into that shitty drawer. Like it's
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what we do in
uh
hypnosis as well, is like
mm,
we, if that's something that you're ready to connect with, we bring you within your subconscious mind, basically into a room that has either, it could be drawers with different
yeah,
like movies playing in the drawers, or it could be different books or screens or a videotape or
yeah.
whatever it is, whatever emotion that you're wanting to connect with. And then, visualizing, okay, and connecting back to what was that event that really the first time I ever
Mm,
felt that way. And for me, this feeling of not good enough came from something as simple as a child. And I had a really great childhood. But this moment where my parents or I think my dad was talking to my uncle or something like that. I can't remember it perfectly, of course. I think I was like 7 years old or something, but
mm,
I don't remember what I wanted to share with them, but it was something very important and like
mm-hmm.
felt urgent to me. Whether it was like that important or not, at the
Doesn't
moment, it
matter.
was
It
so
was
important to
important to you. It
me.
was important enough for you at that
Exactly.
time. Mm-hmm.
And I remember like tugging on someone's sleeve and being like, I have something to tell you. I want to tell you. And then being told,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like just don't interrupt. We're having a conversation. Like you'll have to wait. And that
Mm,
feeling of like, okay, am I not good enough like for you to hear what I have to say right now?
mm-hmm.
And it was something that simple that then repeated in different ways throughout my life that told me again that I
Yeah.
wasn't good enough to either
Yeah.
share what
Yeah.
I
You
had to
saw it as kind
say.
of like a reaffirmation of,
Yeah.
oh,
Or whether it wasn't, something that I was good enough to say, or I did say something and someone dismissed it, like just that
that feeling of
feeling of,
not like not
yeah,
being heard, and or not
yeah,
being seen, invisibility.
totally. And so like I worked through
Mm.
that, like through hypnosis. I've done EMDR for that same
Yeah.
feeling as well. And like there was a really big event that happened in my life the beginning of this year, and like I did not have that feeling, when in the past that would have been the most overwhelming thing. So like
Wow.
it just
Yeah.
showed me, wow, I've done a lot of work for a while. I
Yeah.
didn't know if anything was really
That's the
happening. Like,
thing, right? Like you don't, there's a lot of
yeah,
it's often like a lot of teeny tiny steps done
yes.
continuously, until
Yes.
like the work you do behind, like the work you do in your business, and suddenly it looks like
Mm-hmm.
you're an overnight success. With da you're not, but it
No,
looks like that, right?
exactly.
And the same is
Yeah.
you one suddenly had one big event. You want to share with me what that big event was?
It was just like someone in my life who was a really constant in my life
Yeah,
who wasn't there anymore and like
yeah.
disappeared. So yeah, and it was
That,
like
yeah, I can see how that would have been really hard for past Laura.
yeah.
Mm.
And like it was one of those things where it's like, oh, it's very sad. There's different emotions I could probably
Of course, you can still feel other
like look
emotions
at,
about it, right? Like that's completely fine, right? But
but
it's not
it wasn't about
triggering.
me. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. So I think that's, even if you're doing different work like hypnosis or EMDR or just like different cognitive practices, whatever it is, if you don't see results happening overnight, like that's also okay. And doing the work and having that repetition, like
Yes.
eventually it's people are on different like levels of quickness as well. And that's what I've noticed about me. I need longer to like, set with things and settle in and even just like
Yeah.
let things integrate. So, some people are really quick, some people aren't, and that's totally fine. And it's gonna be
Just know it for yourself,
yeah,
right? So
that
you know,
yeah.
okay, like I have to sit with this a bit
Yeah.
longer.
If you can find that self-trust again to just know like things are gonna happen when they're gonna happen, and I'm going to be where I need to be at any given time.
Yeah.
And feel that self-trust within yourself. Like that was also life-changing for me, just trusting myself. And that took a long time as well. But it's something that is, if you're not in that place yet, if there's people who aren't in that place, like you can do it. Like you will, if you want it, you will find your way back to yourself and find that trust and that intuition, and it'll come. It's still there within you. And
Yeah.
sometimes we just need to make it safe enough for it to come out again. So
I love that. Like it's still there. You slow down, make yourself feel safe enough, and like be in there for like the curiosity and like the journey of discovery, right? Like it's
yes.
we often feel like, oh, okay, I know I have to deal with this shit. Okay, I'm gonna book someone to help me solve this problem, right?
Yeah.
And you go see, I don't know, hypnotherapist and like, please solve this problem for me. And they're like, if they're good, they're telling you, well, I cannot really, I can help you solve it yourself, but you have to
Yes,
actually do the
exactly.
work.
Exactly.
And then kind of like we have this weird expectation of like, okay, I'm going to see Laura for 10 sessions, and after 10 sessions, this shit is healed or else.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
like,
and it's not like that.
It's not like a linear, it's not like getting better or healing or what or any kind of development or business or success. It's not linear.
Yeah.
It's not following
absolutely.
mathematical rules of linearity. It just doesn't. I don't know what kind of
absolutely
chaos rules or something. I don't know.
yeah.
It's more like
exactly.
a cycle, like or like it's yeah, it's more kind of like this like seasonal or in circles or in right?
Yeah.
Like
and it makes me think of like, in hypnosis, we visualize like like actual doors that you walk through to access different, whether it's different parts of your subconscious mind or just different like environments. Yeah. And I think life is about that too. Like for me, I've talked about this for so long, but until recently have I really like seen it in my life, is that like when we do slow down and take the time to like be curious and be open to new possibility, like new doors are going to appear and open that you never imagined before.
Yeah.
So it, that happens in hypnosis and real life. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it's cool. Yeah. Like I love the idea of new doors appearing, new paths. Like that's another part, like, all these things that we talk about in life of like, even the scenic route of, finding these different paths and like different staircases or doors or
Yeah.
different experiencing different things. It's like like paralleled in hypnosis. It's like not fast
Yeah.
tracking that experience, but living that part of that experience within your
And
mind,
see
which is
where it
so
kind of
powerful.
wanders and see where it
Yeah,
goes. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
so
love
cool.
that. And to yeah, I love that. Like to really be like introduce more curiosity and more play and just be like, hey,
Yes.
let's see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like releasing the expectation.
Right.
And I mean it's
Exactly.
super I mean I see I can really see you listening and eye rolling at me. But I mean it's like yeah, sure it's easy to release expectations if like blah 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 blah. But it's not tied to an if then condition.
Right.
It's really just being there for the journey of it and
Mm-hmm.
not
And I,
necessarily for the outcome because you cannot control
yeah.
the outcome. The outcome will be whatever the outcome's going to be,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
And it
But
can be what you want, or it could be even better, or that
yeah,
what you want or even better might not happen as quick as you want it to, but there's still that possibility that it's
yeah,
going to happen in whatever way. And it's
yeah,
going to look like whatever it's going to look like. So,
and it's good
yeah.
however it's going to look like.
Exactly. I think like
Yeah,
inner doing that, like I love how you brought up playfulness. I know we've been like more serious talking about like emotions and stuff, but like playfulness is such a good way
mm,
to
yeah,
just reconnect to yourself and like that inner
mm-hmm.
child. I love inner
Yes,
child work, and I do it with all my clients. I do it for myself. And like anytime now when I'm just like, because I ride my bike quite a
mm-hmm.
bit or go for walks quite a bit. And
Yeah,
anytime I see a play structure with a swing, even if I'm like,
I
oh,
love
do I
swings.
really need
To
to? I
this
get on
day,
that
I love
swing. I
swings.
love
Mm.
it's just like who is
It's
not
like
happy
water
when they're
slides. I gotta go.
yeah. Yeah. So like
Gotta
what's
go.
your thing? Like whether it's I don't know,
Yeah,
collecting rocks on your walk or going
yeah,
on that swing or slide or whatever or
yeah,
dancing, like that's something I don't know, for years I'm like, why wasn't I just dancing in my room? Like I love that. So,
yeah.
it's those little things. What is it that you love?
Mm.
What would your inner child never say no to? And do that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
find opportunities to do that, whether it's like brushing your teeth and dancing or
yeah.
whatever that looks like for you. Just
I
you
love
can ask
that.
yourself, like, what gift can I give to my inner child that would just
Mm.
make them so, so happy? Because that
Yeah.
you still are your inner child. We just, you
Oh
know,
God, yes. Oh God, yes.
we just lose them sometimes, just like our intuition and our
But
self-trust and
they're
all
still
of that.
there.
So
Yeah.
they're still there. Exactly.
I love those. Such
Yeah.
uplifting words. Thank you so much, Lauren. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Hey, listen, always at the end of our conversation, I always got to ask one question the
Yeah.
people don't expect or don't know about. And it's kind of like, what book are you currently reading? Because I'm just so fucking curious.
Oh gosh, this is really funny because I'm at my grandparents' house and they're downsizing. And so we've been going through, we last night went through all of the books that they have, and I'm not reading them yet, but I thought I took them and I'm like, this is so funny.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And yeah, so there's 3 books that I took, and they were actually like free books from Esso, like the gas station, the gas
Okay.
company.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of them is like family astrology. I'm like, oh, that's woo for Esso. Another one
Mhm.
is like modern magic or witchcraft, like easy
Yeah,
witchcraft.
yeah.
So I was
Okay.
like,
Still a bit
that's
out there for SO. I love it.
yeah.
But
And another one is like something about emotions, like
yeah,
almost like a little school book of emotions. I'm sure there's everything about emotional intelligence
yeah.
and naming different emotions and all of that. And I just thought, I think they're from like, I don't know if they're from the 70s or 80s or
Mm.
whatever, but I'm like, how is it that these were given out at a gas station for free to like the public? And now some of these topics, when they're brought up, there's
Yeah.
so many people who are so like, they think it's, so out of their scope of like rational thinking.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
I just thought it was really
That's
funny. So
funny.
I took
Yeah.
those. I can't wait to read them. I can't wait to like see what's in them. So
I'm
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
that's gonna be my
I
little
love
reads.
that.
Yeah.
That's too
Yeah.
good.
But other than that, I'm also reading, and I'm probably gonna get the name wrong, but it's like How to Do Nothing. I think
Okay.
that's what it's called. And it's just, yeah, How to Do Nothing, Resisting the Attention Economy by Jenny Odell. So I
I like the
cracked
title.
that. Yeah. And it's really like it's like, I think she was a Stanford, or maybe still is, a
Yeah.
professor there. And it just looks at like, yeah, what are the possibilities that could happen when we do nothing, and how to do
Oh,
nothing,
yeah.
and
And especially how
getting
to do nothing. Yeah, I like
and
that.
how to change your place in the world. Like,
Mm.
how it's really like she describes it as an action plan for thinking outside of,
Hmm.
capitalist narratives and efficiency and determinism and all of that. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm excited. I've
Right.
cracked the first chapter and can't wait to see what it holds.
That's brilliant. Okay, so hey, Lauren, to wrap us up, tell us where we can find you online, where you hang out the most, and
Yeah.
what little treat you got in store for us.
Yeah, so of course, have all the social platforms, but you will find me reaching out the most on my newsletter. So you can find that on my website. You can subscribe to that at lauren-best.com. It'll pop up at you. You can find it at the bottom of the
Mm-hmm.
website as well. I also host monthly group hypnosis sessions, which are donations
Oh,
based. So you can also find that on my website, or you can type in
it's
lauren-best.com/group/hypnosis/sessions.
all
Uh,
gonna be linked in the show notes, so don't worry.
Perfect. Yeah,
Love
so
it.
join for one of those if you haven't tried hypnosis before. As
That
well,
sounds brilliant.
I'm sharing a free hypnosis audio that will help you connect back to your dreams and just get in touch with what you desire most. So check that out as well.
Yeah, I love that. I'm sure I'm heading to the landing page right now as we speak.
Beautiful.
I love that so much. No, definitely like want to try that. I mean, it's always something new to
Yeah.
discover. So, hey, Lauren, thank
Yeah.
you so much for being on the scenic route with me. It was a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I've had so much fun.